Okay, I'm going to try to do probably the most difficult problem on that worksheet. Problem number 8. It's tough only because it's sort of tedious and long. Can't blame me for making that one up. Some other person did, but at any rate, it'll at least make sure that you are good at attending to details. We have a cosine of something, and that has got an x and a y in it, so when we go inside that with our chain rule, we're going to have to deal with both of these things separately because that's a plus sign. This is not a plus sign, that's multiplication, so this is a product rule. And then within that product rule, this part has a chain rule with a y in it. So that's, that's complicated, but you can do it. Just go step by little step. So the derivative of the cosine, this is the outside, is the minus sign. Do not change the inside. Then when you take the derivative of the inside, there it is. The derivative of x squared is 2x. The derivative of 2y is just 2y prime. You could think of it as 2 times the derivative of y, which is y prime, then y times the derivative of 2, which is 0. And when you add that 0, it doesn't change it. So it's just simply 2y prime. Plus, and now here's where we do the product rule. So it's something plus something else. This times the derivative of that. Chain rule, so we take this, the derivative of e is still just e, but then we don't change the inside. But here we take the derivative of the inside. The derivative of y squared is the 2y. And then going inside the y to take the derivative of that is the y prime. So we've done this before. This is what you need to practice. Make sure it makes sense to you. And then this times the derivative of that, well, the derivative of x is just 1, so there it is. Alright, so once you've done that, that's really the hardest step. Then you just have to very carefully identify where your y primes are. Okay? I've got just the two of them. So I could bring them both to the left or both to the right. It doesn't matter. I tried not to rearrange things to keep it clear. I kept things, I wanted to bring the y primes to the left, but before I could do that, this is something times a sum, a binomial, so I had to distribute. I have to take this whole thing here and multiply it into that and then into that. That's what some of you guys are making a mistake with in class. So when I distribute that, I get minus the sign times the 2x, and then the minus sign times the plus gives me the minus sign with the 2y prime. Once I've distributed it, I did not change this side at all. I then bring the y primes, again there's my 1y prime there and my 1y prime there, and I bring them over to the left hand side. So I've taken this whole piece here and moved it over to the right. I'm keeping this in the place it is, but then I'm taking this piece here and I'm moving it over to the left. When I do that, I get my y prime values there and there, and then I just put big brackets around and I factor it out, and you can see that I've rearranged things only slightly. Over on this side is sort of everything else. Once I've factored out my y prime, I just divide by that whole thing in the brackets, and there it is. Y prime is equal to this. Alright, so crazy, big, and ugly, but true. Alright. Next I'm going to do an example that's like number 10. So I'm going to do number 11. Alright, hopefully that all shows up. And it says, find the equation of the tangent to this curve at 0, 3, at 0, 3. So again, I just take the derivative of both sides. This is implicit differentiation. I've got an x, I've got a y. When I take the derivative of this, it's just a product rule. So this times the derivative of that, there it is, plus that times the derivative of my y squared, there's that 2y prime again. The derivative of this is just 3y prime like we talked about, and the derivative of that is just 2x. And then it's the same thing. I've got to identify where my y primes are. I've got two of them. So I move them over to the left-hand side, and I've rearranged the order just slightly. I've factored out the y prime. And here I just factored out the 2 because that's just good mathematical grammar. I divide both sides by the parentheses once I factored out the y prime, and I get an answer. Okay, now when you've got that, there is the answer right there for the derivative. This enables me to find the slope of the tangent line at that point. So for every x I put in a 0, for every y I put in a 3. And if you check my work there, hopefully I've done it carefully enough. Some things drop out, the x goes to 0, The x up here, when it goes to 0 times 2, e to the 0 is 1. 3 squared is 9. So 2 times a minus 9 is minus 18. And I get 6 minus 3 is 3. So I get a slope of negative 6. And then I put that into my point slope form. And finally I get in slope intercept form. Either one is fine. That's just pretty handy. So give number 10 a try. Good luck.